Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm May, Master Tarfall, Underlord of Pain, Schults.
I'm Ian.
I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I'm Dana Piccoli, and we are talking about Angel Season 3 episode, The Quickening.
We are in deep into the Darla pregnancy storyline. Dana, since as you reminded us that this was your first watch and you didn't quite know where this was going, but you knew, what do you think of this episode?
I really like this episode.
Yeah.
I think that's also because I really like Julie Benz, so anything she's in, I'm pretty much on board. But I really liked it. I thought it was a good ensemble piece. Like the backstory. There's like so many villains kind of coming in. I was into it.
All right. Ian, what'd you think revisiting it? Because I know this storyline is not your favorite.
I don't like this episode at all. Everything good about it, I think, is a part of the arc. Everything specific to it, I think, it just doesn't work for me. So I'm going to be a little more quiet because I want to fall in love. Who doesn't want to fall in love? I hate being a negative downer about stuff. But yeah, it's like having a breather episode in the middle. Like if Empire Strikes Back was a breather, like the comedic, hey, we need a comedic beat instead of in the dark arc. Anyway.
I find that Ian and I often disagree on episodes, so this will be fun.
I have noticed that. May, what'd you think revisiting this?
I mean, yeah, it's a transitional episode. It's not the best. However, there's some great moments in it. You get some good character beats. You get a little bit of development. And I think if we were watching the previous episode, this one, and the next one all in a row as just a little mini binge, it works much better. And
it does.
And like, I remember that from when it originally aired and I watched it. I remember the first episode being like, oh, this is pretty great. And this one being like, wait, what are we doing here? This is an awkward cliffhanger at the end here.
It is awkward.
Right. And then the next one being like, holy shit, this was such a good episode. And without watching them right in a row, it doesn't have the same effect. It's the sophomore slump, as they call it. It's like in Empire Strikes Back is my favorite of the original trilogy. And I think with trilogies, the middle part is always either the best or the worst. It's never in the middle in terms of quality. And in this case, it's the worst of the three episodes.
It just doesn't want to commit to the tone. The episode is, I think, overly fixated on being entertaining instead of telling the story and committing to the story that it wants to tell, which is this dark, horrifying tale, which is redeeming in and of itself. But we'll get into it. I find it really frustrating. And the next episode, which I think is the peak of this arc, like the way they shot these, I'm pretty sure the opening scene in this episode was shot by Tim Minear, who wrote and directed the next episode, which has all of the flashbacks, but they tend to cluster shoot them together. And the opening is kind of my favorite part of the episode. So it feels anyway, sorry. Again, I'm really trying not to.
There's nothing wrong with not liking it. I liked having your opinions. I like this episode. I liked all of these episodes. I think they're all kind of fun. This one, I think my main issue with this one, there was like too many things that were just starting in this episode that we were like the vampire cult. I think that's like makes sense for this universe, is a cool idea, but it seemed to come out of nowhere suddenly.
I mean, there's a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
Diet Holland Manners. Like, we had Diet Holland Manners. Now we have Diet generic Holland Manners. Like, what happened to Nathan? Not that Nathan was interesting.
Wait, I haven't known about
Linwood
that.
sucks, though.
Because I was like, wait, this guy is, I was the same thing. I was like, this guy isn't the same guy, right? Like, and I had to look it up and that this is his first episode. And I was like, I can't
There's
tell if
no reference.
I can't tell if I love or hate the fact that it's consistently just an old white guy with gray hair. Because, like, you know, I feel like there's a different world in which that's on purpose and they're trying to say something. I do not think that's the case here.
I don't think that's what's going on. And
yeah, they were like, oh, we need a guy who looks like he's the boss. Oh, yeah, white guys are the boss. Let's just do that.
Who didn't we cast last time? Get that guy.
Nathan was flat. So they're going the other way. We're like, oh, hey, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell it. Oh, wait, like jokey. But in a way, anyway, why don't we get into it?
But so you said you like the opening. We open on Schults. I do think, I will say, I think I said this last episode, I don't always love the flashbacks. Like, they a little bit are like, I think if they had a bigger budget, maybe I would, but it's like, I feel the costumes, I feel the wigs, I like...
You feel that Irish accent?
Yeah. He's starting to like drop it a little bit more and more.
It's starting to get a little less. But like,
it's less Lucky Charms, at least.
Yeah,
like,
it is less Lucky Charms. I will say, they're evil.
Yeah.
Darla and Angelus were evil. They were real bad. When you're like, who wants to eat the baby?
Yeah. My original nickname for the episode was going to be a Labyrinth reference, and I was going to go, kill the baby!
I thought you were going to make a reference to your podcast, Lady Killers, and call it Baby Killers.
Oh, no.
But on that aspect, I like that. The thing I like about these shows is it doesn't shy away from showing us, like, for whatever, you know, the shippers tend to be the, like, one of the only, like, actual toxic corners of the Buffy fandom. And I like that these shows are consistently showing us there's not one that was good when, like, in these flashbacks. They were all purely fucking evil. They raped people, they killed people, they ate fucking babies, like,
the
and
weight of the soul. It shows you, like, the weight of the soul, right? And the humanity of, like, having a soul.
Yeah, and I like the horror person in me kind of does like that. Like, this is one of the flashbacks where I was like, kind of like what you both were saying. It's like, it's so deliciously evil where it's like, ooh, these are like, this is so, it's something that it feels like the show would have shied away from, because in the crossover with Fool for Love and Darla, right? Like, the conceit is Darla wants Angel to eat this baby that she has and he won't. And he saves the baby, jumps out the window. And I kept thinking of that contrasted with this, where it's like, here they're like giggling about who's going to eat
let's do
baby.
rock, paper, scissors for this baby.
Because we both want to do it so badly. Like, it's only fair that one of us gets to. And I like showing that difference of, like, when he did get a soul, he, like, you know, was so tortured over it. He grabs the baby, he leaves Darla, and here they're like, hee, tasty baby. And like, I appreciate them going there. I appreciate them. With Darla, I talked about this. Me and Dayspring interviewed Julie Benz earlier this week. Talked about it with her, that, like, the thing Julie Benz always did well with Darla is, like, she kind of delivers everything. There's no, like, evil, like, she just, that's who she is, right? Like, and I kind of love that. And even though she is a serial killer and literally a baby eater, like, you kind of want Darla to, like, get a win, like, somehow. Like, you want her to, like, get something good. It's like, you're not rooting for her because she's evil, but, like, I don't know. She's an interesting character. She's fun to watch, right?
Yeah, she's super fun to watch.
Yeah. And, like, we get the Schults of it all, right? Because I couldn't remember in one of the earlier episodes if, like, Schultz is already stalking them because, like, in my brain, he was already stalking them because of this, but I guess it's that he is a vampire hunter and then they kill his family and then it becomes, right?
Okay, if you're a vampire hunter, number one rule of vampire hunting,
I agree with you.
Don't leave your fucking family
right?
Unguarded.
by themselves and unguarded.
My note for this part was, the old bait and switch.
But, like, Dana, I was thinking that too. I was like, why wouldn't he have left, like, some other crew at the house in case this happened?
Like, hey, if somebody comes to the door, make sure mom answers it.
Yeah, like,
because she'll know not to, like, invite them in. But what?
and like there's 2 kids in the house. It's like that's they're really feels like we needed some kind of better plan for his home. Because the little girl says like, "Oh, she said not to let anyone in," but like you said, Dana, that little girl shouldn't even be answering the door. Like,
Right.
I feel like whenever we talk about the universe in these shows, it's like I sound like I'm some kind of like doomsday prepper, like NRA, because I'm like, they need a weapon, they need to fight. But like in this universe, like you need some kind of protection in that house.
Well, it reminds me of Dawn accidentally inviting Harmony in.
Yeah.
But Buffy's whole point in that scene, and Buffy's a vampire killer, just like Holtz is. She should have known better. Like, you would have grown up in a space and it seems like in the sequence the wife doesn't even know.
Yeah.
She has no. Oh, hello.
He acts like,
who
hi,
are you?
Yeah. Who are these weird strangers? Okay.
And it's a passing scene. I don't want to spoil too much coming up, but like we do revisit it, and there's more of a payoff from it, but yeah,
God, I don't even remember.
Something distracted me in this sequence too. When your mind wanders to needless stuff and ruins things for yourself, if a vampire bit somebody, I don't think it would make a sound. Right? That's like biting into Jello. Or does
you don't think it would squelch?
Does taking a bite of steak make like a specific sound? And the sound effect that they are using, I was like, that sounds so familiar. It's the sound of biting into a Tootsie Roll Pop. Listen to it again. Go back and watch the scene again. When they bite into it, it's played a little bit slower. But when the owl bites into a Tootsie Roll Pop, that's the sound they're using in that sequence. I mean, whether or not exactly, whether or not there would be a squelch, or some sort of like, we'll say, this is an unfortunate word, like moist, but like a juicy sound effect.
Like a peach, like you're biting into a nectarine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's not the sound.
No.
It's there's a crunch when they bite into their neck, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the Tootsie Roll Pop sound. So
We'll have to do a deep dive into this.
Yeah. Sorry if I ruined that for
I don't
anyone.
know. I still am like, no, yeah, that makes sense as a noise to like, because they're not just like putting their fangs there. They're doing and sucking. So there's got to be a noise. Yeah.
Well, that would be
That
more
was
of
an unfortunate sound effect.
I was going to say that would be more of a blowjob sound effect then, or
honestly, it should be more of that sound.
Yeah, a hickey sound, something like. But the sound. Listen to the sound. The next time there's a biting sequence, listen to the sound in the sequence. It's so crunchy and specific. It's again. My mind went to weird places. I really didn't enjoy this episode. But anyway, onward.
Holtz gets to the barn where he's gonna he thinks they are. There's like a, haha, you missed me note, and he knows it. They are at his home. I don't love Holtz as a character. He's more of a just like plot device for me, but the plot device works for me. I like the plot device. But I gotta say, especially rewatching this, I was like, I kind of forgot how right he is for wanting to kill these people. It's like, we don't want that to happen because that's the show. But I mean, it's like, I can't be mad at him for wanting to do this, right?
Right. And then spending the next 9 years staring at the bottom of a whiskey bottle, right?
Yeah. I kind of get it.
He's one of the most properly motivated villains maybe with the exception of Dark Willow, who's a big baddie. To see what spawned his desire for vengeance, I think is, wherever it goes, where he just sort of becomes a one-dimensional gravitas conflict dispenser.
I just imagined him as a Pez dispenser and pull his head back.
If somebody's even slightly mean to my wife, I'm on the I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. I was with my roommate and my best friend, and we had to walk through a group of teenagers, and they weren't moving. And I said, "Excuse me," and the one I said "excuse me" to turned around, stared at me for a second, and then turned to his friend and went, "What the hell was that?" And I didn't hear this, but Erica did. And she turned on that kid and fucking put him in his place immediately. And I'm just like, I love having people in my life who will throw down for me.
I'm weirdly both the person that will cry and the person that will throw down. Like,
I will throw down for someone else, but if
Yes,
someone says something mean to me, I just start
for sure.
crying.
Like,
I've been bullied too much in my life to naturally fight back because I'm just worried about getting the shit kicked out of me.
that's the one part where the like Puerto Rican temper comes in, because I'm like, oh, I'll get my ass kicked. Fuck you. Like, I get very. I know I'm not tough, but I'm going to like do the thing, and just a little aware that like I probably will get beat up. Like a friend of mine got punched at a bar once, and I literally took my glasses off because I was like, well. And I like took my glasses off, put them on the bar counter, and went over and like punched the guy. The guy punched me, and like, but I knew I wasn't really. But it was like, well, I need to defend my friend's honor. And like the other day, Kim, my best friend, was like, this woman yelled at me in the parking lot and made me cry because she said I was too loud, like when her son was trying to read. And I was like, fuck that motherfucker. Why would she talk to you like that? Like, I was like so mad at this woman. I was like, I want to drive to Alabama and fight this lady. Tell her she's an asshole. But anyway, back
to the show.
Yeah, they kill his family. He finds them.
Then he just basically just spends 9 years like trying to plot revenge, right? And then that's probably how this was it Shahjahan?
Yeah.
Shahjahan
comes along.
Although I do like Shahjahan.
I like him too. I forgot how like he does the thing this universe does. He like fits it perfectly of like smoking the cigarette, being cranky, talking modern speak, but looking like this like ancient demony, and it doesn't feel cheap. It feels like, yeah, that's who this character is. He kind of
he can travel through time as easily as I walk to the bathroom.
God, that would be cool.
Yeah, he subverts our expectations for what that monster would be like, how the monster would behave, and I think that's always a lot of fun.
He kind of reminds me of De Hoffrent.
I can see that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Dana, you weren't on the episode with me where he first shows up, but that's the same actor that plays the werewolf hunter on Buffy, who accuses Giles and Buffy of canoodling.
Got it.
And once you said that, I'm
you're
like,
a girl.
Yeah. Once you said that, May, now it's like so obvious. Like, I'm like, oh, how could I not have told this? But yeah, we close that scene with him like arriving too late, and then we cut to Darla and Angel kind of like having a moment, which I also think is a really good, like, this is where they are now. That's where they left this like poor man, like not being able to have a moment with like his partner and his family because they fucking killed them.
I do love the symmetry. I mean, I'm a nut for symmetry in writing, and I love the symmetry of, are you going to do it or am I? It's just cut. It's the cut before, but Angel being the one who says that, and then her bringing that back in that moment, I think is really affecting in a way that is not as on the nose as the rest of the episode. It doesn't tell us how to feel about it. It allows us to just kind of be in the emotions of that moment with the two of them, and him being, she's giving him a mirror of his old terrible self and how they felt about children before and all of that. It's a loaded show don't tell sequence that I really enjoy.
Yeah, they do a lot of that. Like in the last episode, Darlin and Jealous, he says to her, she's full of surprise, life's full of surprises, or something. They say, one of them says life's full of surprises, and they say, no, you're full of surprises, life is boring. And then the episode ends with Darla drinking from the guy at the bar and getting up, and we see her belly, and she says, life's full of surprises.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah. Symmetry is not that hard to do, but every time it happens, I'm like, yeah, they did the thing with it.
This is going to sound weird, but I love a full circle. And like, even if it's in a microcosm of an episode where it's like, not the whole like arc of the story, just within this episode, we get a little full circle. I love that. Like, give me, like you said, Ian, it's not really that hard to do. It's almost a little cheap sometimes, but it fucking always works.
Yeah. Bookend it. I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah. And then post credits, we see Holtz and Sajan chatting.
After Holtz's American history lesson.
Well, world
He's like,
history
"How is
lesson.
England?" World history, yes. He's like, how is England still around? He's like, about 60 years ago, they had a rough.
I love that he, of course, makes the bad teeth joke.
Yes. And like, I again, this is shit I like because Holtz is so serious and intense, but not in a way that it's like, yeah, that makes sense. This man would not be cracking jokes, right? And I like him having to deal with Sajan, who is mostly just cracking jokes. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're good foils for each other.
Yeah. Because that's a thing that Wolfram and Hart is good at, but not a lot of the other like Angel villains like are that enjoyable to watch. So I'm glad because Holtz, like I said, I understand him. I don't think it's a bad idea of a villain, but like he becomes just like the villain. So I like having Sajan there, who's a little bit like shitty and lighting a fire under his ass, kind of.
This is also one of the most well-trodden cliches of the 1,000-year-old character waking up and needing to catch up, and so they learn everything they need to know through television. I was thinking of X-Men Apocalypse. There are
The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element, yeah. There's a whole bunch, but they're magical beings. I suppose Holtz is magical as well, but that it's one of the. It doesn't really bother me, but it just the use of the trope, like that writing shorthand of like, how do we get this character caught up on modern history in one scene? And is watching four historical documentaries all at the same time really the best way to do it? But it doesn't matter onward. It's a small point. There are essentially maybe 4 or 5 scenes in the whole episode. They're just edited in 3 or 4 times. But yeah, essentially
they're all basically the same.
It's all the same thing, just edited across, which is why this one feels like connective tissue episode more than really having its own identity.
Well, what we'll do, Ian, we'll do the Ian thing, which I did with Magicians, and it was a big help. We'll talk about just Holtz and Sajan in general. And then I mean, I don't know that there's anything else I really have to say about that. I'm looking at my notes later on.
I really love the conversation that they have when Holtz is putting down the modern world, and Sajan is like, and you can get great Thai food, and Holtz doesn't even go, what's Thai food?
What's Thai food? The one that got me was I've had a little work done, mostly around the eyes.
Yes.
Would Holtz know what work done? Does he have, what the hell are you talking about?
And he doesn't even ask because he doesn't care. He is so singularly focused on killing Angel and Darla that that's all he can think about. So all of Sajan's little quirks and jokes
that's what I was talking.
Us.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The episode being very focused on being entertaining to us, and sort of some of the reality of the scene being affected, and that works. Like Band Candy, for instance, is an episode where like the laws of the universe kind of go out the window, and it's a romp, right? But I think like a romp has a very specific tone as opposed to cutting from Arm to Buffy having to confront Angelus and the drama of that scene being paired with comedy versus like, I feel like the rules of this particular universe for one episode in the middle of a very dark arc go out the window for a little bit. Like Wolfram and Hart has never heard of a vampire having a baby, but there's a very populated vampire cult apparently that knows about the.
They're really good at keeping secrets.
Yeah. It works for you or it doesn't. And I just struggled scene to scene. Like, wait a second, he doesn't know what cosmetic surgery is. Like, again, either that lands for you or you're a old stickler. Me.
I don't mind being entertained. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, I don't want to sound like that's why I'm sounding like such a curmudgeon. It's really, I'm really struggling to make the point here. So again,
I
I'm
like
sorry.
the struggle here where it's like the grump who hates it and then being like, well, don't be a grump. I don't like the grump who hates it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever you have to say. I don't care.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, Sajan does a lot of that.
Well, the thing is, Holtz is like, well, he doesn't understand why this is happening, because he's like, why don't you just freaking kill him? And he's like, and then he like tries to, put his hands through him, and he realizes that doesn't really have a corporeal form.
Which makes it even funnier that he lit a cigarette off a torch in a previous episode, and he can knock on a door. It's kind of like he can phase in and out of corporealness at will. Right.
It's like Ghost.
Yeah.
He can do the penny up the wall, but he can't.
It's like Trevor on Ghosts. Do you all watch Ghosts?
No.
Oh, it's really funny. One of the ghosts, Trevor, he was a 90s finance bro. Each ghost has their own unique special power, and his is that he can interact with the physical world, but it takes so much effort for him that like sending one text takes about an hour.
But what do they do? The first thing they do, okay, he's non-corporeal and can't affect the world. What's the first thing they do together when walking through the city? They go and hire minions. Right? So why does he need if Sajan has the resources to just go and hire minions, because Holtz has been naked and stoned for the last couple thousand years, he doesn't have any money. Like if Sajan can go and hire minions, what does he need Holtz for?
Because Holtz has the real. He wants to give the opportunity to Holtz, because Holtz has been so devastated by this situation. I think that's what attracted him to Holtz, is this pain, this fury.
I do have a question. Oh, go ahead.
We all know something that Dana does not know yet.
Right.
I'm not giving you any spoilers.
Okay.
I can't even remember what the fuck it is, Dana.
We'll just say...
I'm also like, do I know?
Holtz has motivations.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Or excuse me, Sajan has motivations.
Okay.
Right.
So there's Holtz even says this is a deal with the devil. You're here to, so there is a motivation here. Again, I'm trying. I want to avoid spoilers, but
well, also we do spoil in this podcast, just FYI. But like,
but I don't want to spoil it for Dana.
Yeah, specifically.
If it makes sense, it's all good.
Just about to say, does anyone remember why Sajan? Because I was like, I can't fucking remember why Sajan is doing this. Like, I was like, did
Ian
I miss
do.
it? Yeah, you two do. Again, this is one of my favorite seasons, but I do not remember. I can't tell if I like this or don't like. But when Sajan Holtz says to him, "You're not human," and he says, "But clearly masculine. You get that, right?" I kind of like the idea of this like shitty evil demon being like, "But no homo, right?" Like,
that always gives me a good chuckle, and I know we don't do least favorite look, but my least favorite look in this episode is human Sajan with that wig.
The hair.
With the wig, yeah.
It's so bad. He looks like my dad if he had bangs. No, my dad has a mullet with bangs that he wears in a ponytail. So if Sajan had bangs, he would look like my dad, because he's wearing a button-up shirt tucked into his pants, which is how my dad dresses when he wants to look nice. And I hate it. I hate it so much.
I like that Darla and Angel have a casual conversation about the like insane super vampire rough sex that they had when he's like,
it's nice.
What?
It's nice to reference it. Yeah.
It is. And they're like, you seduced me. No, you seduced me.
You seduced me.
But when he says, she's like, oh, so you just thought you'd pin me up against the wall and do whatever you wanted, which gives it like a semi non-consensual aspect. And then he goes, seems like the thing to do at the time,
which confirms the non-consensual. But later he even says, you like pain, and she says, not this kind of pain.
Wait, yes, I will push back on that, because in the previous episode they even have the conversation in the flashback when she's like delighted to say she got punished for leaving Angel in that barn, that burning barn that one time. And she's like,
Oh yeah.
and I was punished again and again. And she's like delighted that she was punished. So I do think it's like, she is saying it like he did kind of like rough her up, but like, like in a consensual rough. I feel like it was like she was playing the part of like, oh,
it
like
was kind of a CNC situation.
Yeah, like I feel
not
like
CNC Music Factory.
Darla to sound like you may now. Darla for me, even when she's like the sub, is like the dom sub, like where she's like,
she's essentially doming from a submissive point. Because we talked about that Darla is absolutely the dom in that relationship, but she kind of dommed Angel into doming her.
Yeah.
Which is the only way I will ever dom.
But right though, I do feel like for me, that's how I would read that, where she'd be like, oh no, I hate this. Like
the other thing too is unsold Darla might use the opportunity to guilt Angel at whatever corner. So even though in the moment she thought he was about to abandon his soul and was into what was happening, now that it's behind her and she's angry about the baby and all of that, she you could definitely see her character having sort of a revisionist perspective on that, just to twist the knife on Angel.
Yeah.
Also,
so it works for me. It just, the whole bit is really uncomfortable.
I mean, I like the way they're casually chatting about it. I wish we got, in my brain, this lasted way longer than 3 episodes because it's, we get our conclusion next episode of this arc. I love Darla, not unlike Lila, can't stand any of them, but like sometimes knows she has to work with them, right?
Yeah.
And I love this version of Darla who like can't stand any of these motherfuckers, but is like, oh.
Right. And then speaking of them, they bust in and they're like, we've got news.
That prophecy, we're zooming through that prophecy, right? Like,
yes.
If the goods have a necessary evil from time to time, the bads probably have a necessary good from time to time.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see.
Yeah.
I love that they're still doing the thing where Fred stumbles on her words and starts over-explaining things that no one understands instead of just saying the thing that needs to be said, because it's cute, it's charming, and I do that too. I love Fred. I love Fred so much.
Like everybody gets a line in the prophecy explainer.
Well, it's more interesting than one person just monologuing.
True. Yeah, and I feel like it also like Gunn and Cordy needed some lines in this episode, so I was like, let them do it. May I also do that? Zach and Kirsten, who co-host this podcast sometimes, both have said to me, everything you say comes with a like parenthetical. Like I always have like a parentheses explanation for like every 5 things. I'm so like, if I said like,
I never do that. I don't know what that's like at all.
I was like, oh, me and Dana, she's a co-host on Slayerfest 98. We've been friends for this long. We met once in Philadelphia. We're talking about blah, 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 blah. Buffy, that's the show that we have the podcast. Like, I'm like very that. And I almost think it's like both anxiety and internet brain where like, on
it's
the
also
internet,
ADHD.
Yeah, also that.
You got to give some context, right?
True, yeah, there's also that. But I feel like internet brain has like rotted that where like, because if the age-old thing of like how you could be like, I love pancakes, and someone could be like, my mother died choking on pancakes. Do you think that's okay? Like, I am always trying to cover all of my bases, so like no one can do that to me.
I like that so much better than Twitter's the only place where you can say I like pancakes and someone else will come at you with, oh, so you hate waffles. My mom died choking on pancakes is so much funnier.
Or what about waffles?
Right, yeah. There was that
Why
TikTok
don't you
going
like
around.
Waffles?
There was a TikTok going around about specifically that I was like obsessed with, and like it still makes me feel gratified to watch it, where like the woman has this like beautiful ponytail and she is like doing this with it, and she says that someone's talking about hair care and they're like, what if I'm bald? And it's like, well, then don't watch the video. And how that's very internet-y, and it is. Because it's like the bean soup video where there was a bunch of comments like, what if I don't like beans? And it's like, why are you commenting? This is literally soup made of beans. You don't eat it. That's what happens if you don't like beans. Sorry, I'm getting a little off subject. The internet's been rotting my brain.
I can help. I can help us get back on track. the baby cannot be harmed, and Darla has tried.
Right.
And so the group has figured out that there's basically this protection on the baby because of this prophecy. And they're like, we need to protect Darla. And Cordelia's like, to hell with that. Let me punch this bitch.
Oh my God. When she punches her in the face, it's so satisfying. And then Cordelia's like, oh, come on, you're a vampire. You can't take a little punch in the nose.
And I love that she's like, okay, now I'll help. Like, I just love
right,
that.
Because it turns out to be what, everyone?
Contractions.
I like that she punches her into labor. Like,
Yeah.
that's a good punch. Punching a vampire into labor, not bad.
What a sentence, right? What a fucking sentence. Punching a vampire into labor. Like, sure, yeah.
That's what Cordelia's tombstone should say. She punched a vampire into labor once.
And they're like, so what do we do? Do we need to get like some mystical, magical? They're like, or maybe we just go to the hospital. Have we tried hospital?
I like how they're all kind of like, oh yeah, why don't we do that? Because they realize they just need the equipment, because like a doctor won't actually probably help.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Wolfram and Hart, where a mailroom guy is bringing a CD to Lila. I totally was like, oh, of course this like Twinkie queer is like loving Lila, but then he betrays her. But I was like, that would make sense that like the queen in the mailroom's like, oh, I gotta protect Lila. She's so iconic. And like brings her
Don't forget, she's also signing a document with her own blood.
It's so cute.
Yeah. I just love Lila, and I don't like, and I know she's bad, so like whatever, but like I kind of like I said with Darla, I want Lila to get a win. It's like, why is this doofus Gavin, who's kind of like a nothing character that's just introduced and like kind of is nothing, he's still getting the one up on her? I'm like, no, she's too smart for this. But granted, she's not pressed at any moment. Like she like she finds out there's a video and just takes charge of it, right? And like calls the boss. Like she's
like, here's a sex tape of you, and she's like,
yeah.
Also,
I give a shit.
Yeah.
I love that it's from when she boned Angel, but when he was possessed by the old guy.
And they know that they like mention
I forgot about it. Yeah,
it's so funny.
This scene with Lila by herself, followed by her with Daniel Day Kim, to me is kind of emblematic of what they're struggling with. Lila is Wolfram and Hart now. They've like Nathan's gone, Lindsay is gone. The only identity to the show to Wolfram and Hart is Lila and Stephanie Romanoff. Yeah, Stephanie Romanoff. It's such a wonderful performance. Lila is so terrific. And it, unfortunately, I think highlights how flat she and Daniel Day Kim are together, or those two characters. I don't think it's a performance issue. I think that Gavin doesn't have an identity. You know, like the Lindsay was built out of a particular thing that interacted really well with Holland. His spiel to Angel about my father, the farm turned away, and I swore I would never be like, I'm sorry, did you get to the point where you were evil? Like the backstory, all of that. And he and Lila have such wonderful chemistry. Yeah. And Daniel Day Kim is charismatic as hell.
And handsome as hell.
Charisma just oozes off the screen. But their scenes together are so flat. Like
I think with Lila and Lindsay, there wasn't like sexual chemistry, but there was like there was like always like an underlying, like they knew they had to work together. They couldn't fucking stand each other, but like they were, but they did work together.
The tension worked.
Yeah. The tension
There's
really
not
worked.
the same sort of tension there.
And
no.
Ian, to your point, actually, I always think that is one of the bigger failures of the show, is that they didn't do enough with Wolfram and Hart, because, like you said, at this point, Lila is the only character at Wolfram and Hart. Like, Gavin, we've just met, so it's like, sure, he's going to be a character. Linwood is like the new boss this episode who we just meet, and I really feel like how in season 1 we kept getting these lawyers, and they even had the nervous gay lawyer who does get killed. He was in a few episodes. They really should have done that with Wolfram and Hart, I think, of like not just introducing a character for 2 episodes who dies, but like Lila's interacting with, like, have her secretary be a character, have some of the other lawyers be reoccurring. That way we know the dynamic of this company a little better. Because, like,
Yeah.
we know they have a psychics department. That has been mentioned again. I was like, have any of these people been seen again? But I don't think they have. Like,
I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Now, where was that foresight when we needed it?
Both shows thrive on character and struggle when it's not there. And Lila's the only character at Wolfram and Hart. So those scenes just
I think they should have just made her the head of this branch of Wolfram and Hart.
The branch or something.
Yeah.
There was a glass ceiling, okay? There was a glass ceiling in the early 2000s still. It's not like it's gone.
In the Demon Law firms.
Not like it's gone. But in Demon Law firms especially. Have you heard about all the class actions?
I mean, season 5 is the Wolfram and Hart season. And to me, what it is there were all these hints along the way of the Oz that Wolfram and Hart was.
Yeah.
This magical, I mean, I hate bringing up Hogwarts anymore, but just sort of like that mysterious, there's a magic around every corner kind of thing. Like calling the intern calling the phone, press 3 to talk to the demon.
Which is a very good bit. I do like that bit.
That bit and building it. The season 5 is the season built from those kinds of bits. Like
there's a reason that was my nickname for the episode. It got the biggest laugh out of me.
Yeah. The IKEA Ektorp sacrifice. Do we have the blessed knife from season 2? Like taking those little bits, they build, so they do course correct with season 5, but yeah, there's now that it's not their fault that Lindsay, the actor, moved on.
Right.
There's been a lot of departures for these people leaving for more marquee jobs, which totally understand. And maybe they didn't want to invest. They're like, all right, we have a core here. We're not going to invest in more of this. But there's a trade-off with that, and I think we feel it in the storytelling.
Actually, you just touched upon. And now I'm spoiling something. But Julie Benz talked specifically about that and why Darla's arc ends very abruptly in season 2. And she explicitly said in the interview that she got cast on a show and then Darla was supposed to die in season 2, but they wouldn't up her pay. And she would have to fly from Canada back to LA, then back to Canada for the show she was filming, and they wouldn't up her pay. So she said no. And so she was like, when the contract was up for whatever episode was her last in season 2, she said the plan was always to kill Darla. They didn't know, once they had to change her arc, they didn't know how they were going to get rid of her. And then they brought her back for season 3, but she said they wouldn't up her pay. And she said no, like turned down coming back for season 2.
Like the professor in season 4 of Buffy. Who was supposed to be the Dr. Frankenstein through the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that could have been a lot more interesting. This definitely feels like maybe Darla was supposed to be there the whole time, and then other things were supposed to happen next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
I could almost see it being that they were going to have her have, like, demonic pregnancy. Sure, have it speed up, right? And like maybe she stakes herself at the end of the season, and that's how that could be like a season finale, I feel like.
As opposed to showing up very pregnant immediately.
Yeah.
The important part while we're talking about all of this, like with Daniel Day Kim and everything, is Gavin has been spying on the Hyperion. And so they're all together in this office and they're like sparring or whatever, but they're watching this video, which doesn't have any audio. But they're watching a video, and Darla walks into the frame, and Gavin and Lila both are like, holy shit, Darla, is she pregnant? So like, it kind of like blows all their minds, and it adds this new layer to the Wolfram Hartness.
And that's when they call Linwood, who I realized he's like a prediction of Mad Men. He's basically a caricature version of one of the guys on Mad Men, especially when he gives that little speech about all of the things that he's done as part of his blood oath. He leaves his wife for younger beauty, or whatever the fuck he says. And I'm just like, oh, dude, get your head out of your ass.
I do love that though. That like
he's the what's the character? It's totally it's Roger Sterling.
Yes,
He's totally
thank you.
Roger Sterling.
yeah,
Yes, exactly. And then they talk about the different offices already finding out about what's happening. And I love that he drops that there's an office in Muncie. There's a Wolfram and Hart office in Muncie, Indiana. And it's so funny, which makes me think, okay, there's a Hellmouth in Ohio. Maybe there's also one in Muncie.
I mean, the thing I like about that is the Angel comics did like a mini arc that I loved that was Angel, Willow, Faith, and Connor going to like a different dimension to do XYZ. I don't even remember why. But like Lila has a small cameo in that comic because this like hell dimension they go to has a Wolfram and Hart branch.
Of
And
course.
like you see the like sign and you see Lila like walking out with like a briefcase. And I just love that like, and like I think she's like maybe on the phone, but like it's clearly supposed to be Lila. And like I like the idea that they have like branches in different dimensions and branches like that kind of just like adapt to whatever the setting is. Like I would imagine the Muncie, Indiana branch on the outside looks more like a suburban office building, right? Not like a giant like skyscraper glass building or whatever. And I just like that idea.
So Linwood, they're all like walking through the halls, and they come into this big conference room full of psychics, all different kinds of like psychics and telepaths, and they're all doing their own little thing, and there's like all this hubbub and stuff. And that's when he has one of the psychics killed because he's like, "That's what am I paying you for? You this is like the biggest discovery ever, and you've missed this."
I love the collection of the Room of Psychics. You've got like a Romani woman, you've got Miss Cleo, you've got a hot goth.
Twins.
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of different psychics, and they're all these stereotypical tropes, which is exactly what the Buffyverse is good at doing. It's good at saying like, hey, let me take this trope that exists for a reason and make it funny. Instead of making it just stupid and predictable, they're like poking fun at it.
Yeah, there's a throwaway line in the background too that I really enjoyed as a reference to an episode in the previous season. One of the psychics on the phone is reading from a document, and she says, "Are you now, or have you ever been a vampire?" Mm-hmm. And that as a reference to Tim's episode in season 2, I really love.
Yeah.
There's also someone else who says, "Are any of your friends vampires?"
There we also meet the ostrich Christian that's going to that they've brought in obstetrician. Sorry, that's just a nod to my late friend Adam Carter.
But he does have little chicken feet.
He does have,
which we see at the end of the
Christian,
episode.
Ostrich chicken. He comes in and he's like, he's so creepy. He's so creepy. And he's like, I can't wait to dissect the baby and the vampire and to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
This was a character that, again, I had to look up. So I was like, wait, we've seen this guy before, right? We had not. But I really was like, I think I was thinking of maybe the guy Spike brings in season 1 to torture Angel. I don't know.
Well, he also feels a little gentlemanly, you know?
He does. Yeah. With like a human head.
Yes.
And chicken feet. Which the chicken feet are important because we do go back to those at the end. And I forgot. I was like, what the fuck are those chicken feet? Well, by the time we see them again at the end, I was like, who had those?
That's right, because he walks really funny. He's like...
Yeah, and he's got a cane.
Meanwhile, with the Scoobies, they are at the hospital. They're getting shit together. And again, I love this Darla. I love Darla being like, whatever, just like get this thing out of me. I am annoyed at all of you. I'm annoyed at the baby. I'm annoyed at my pregnancy. Like,
at what part in Wesley's Watcher training did he learn how to use an ultrasound machine?
Because he does say, "Oh, it's been a while," right? Like,
I think he
I'm
did
assuming
it to
he had
Cordy.
some kind of medical training. No.
Oh,
He was there when she was getting an
Yeah.
ultrasound. I think it was more that he probably received some basic medical training as part of his Watcher training, like first aid, and an ultrasound might be necessary in case of demon infestation within someone's body.
I like that you said in case of demon infest, not like in case of pregnancy. It's like, well, and I guess that would make sense to use that for a demon infestation.
Yeah.
I guess. Sure.
But we quickly find out it's no demon. It's a human baby.
It's a baby.
And suddenly it's a boy, and suddenly Angel is like very excited. I'm going to be a dad. This is cool.
I can't wait to play catch with my son
in the dark.
And I even like the bit of like when they like when he's rolling her through the hospital, and they're kind of like she's just being cranky. Like she's like, I wrote down her line because she says, "My devil spawn is trying to rip its way out of my body. How do you think I'm doing?"
No, she says, "Your devil spawn." Also, I don't remember the context in which he says it, but Gunn mentions chuds, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, and I got so excited.
I did too.
I feel like you reference a lot of like obscure horror that I haven't seen. I have actually seen that one.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember.
There's also Chud 2, Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud.
I've only seen one, but I just remember I rented it from Blockbuster because I'm an old. But I remember I rented it because I thought it was like a super scary horror movie, not like a like 80s campy whatever. And I just remember being like, oh, okay, this isn't that. Like I remember my friend who didn't like horror, whoever I saw it was, could have been Kim. Because I was always making Kim watch horror movies with me, even though she gets scared easily. And I just remember my friend being like, oh, I'm going to be scared. And me being like, well, this is like fun. It's stupid. But I love the idea of them existing in the like Buffyverse. Because I could.
Oh, yeah.
Any horror movie monster could.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I enjoy this ninja.
Oh, the white ninja guy?
The white ninja guy, because you're like, oh, he's going to be a big player in all of this, right?
They love doing that on the show, though.
Yeah.
Nope.
And then he walks in and the vampire cult is just like, ah!
Yeah. I should have known when he was doing like the sword thing. He's going to be a goner, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, and that poor guy, I mean, clearly his professional life, like the actor, clearly his professional life has been focused in one particular regard, and more power to him. He's done a bang up job, great body. He swings the sword around, you know, immediately that he's done that before. But to deliver the line, yeah, and have it sound bad, like, I mean, to me, I knew immediately as soon as I was like, oh, he's not going to be on for that guy's going to be dead in a minute.
Ian, we can't all be triple threats, okay?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. This is the thing is like, I don't want to be a jerk, but it was a weird tell for, yeah, he's not going to be around very long.
Then Fred, they're kind of like, they realize it's going to be a boy. It's not a demon. And Fred is kind of like, guys, you're not listening. Guys, you're not listening. And they are suddenly surrounded by a demon cult
of vampires. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't know that they're like, worship the baby.
Okay.
Let us take care of this guy. Hold on. Worship the baby.
I love Darla being like, I'm going to sit this one out and be Switzerland and see who lives. And then they're like, well, we're going to open you up and eat you. And she's like, all right, I'm up. And she gets up to like help. I fucking love that.
What does she say? Or he's like, we're going to wear your entrails as belts and
we're going to like carve out
consume your eyeballs
Yeah.
and then worship your baby.
Yeah. And that's she literally is like, all right, I'm up. And she like sits up. And I just like the idea of this like super powerful, super strong, pregnant vampire being like, oh, I'm too tired to fight. Whoever wins. And then being like, oh, I got to fight now. All right. Like I just love cranky, pregnant Darla. And I was like, what does this feel familiar? I was thinking of in Buffy season 5 when Spike and Harmony go get a chip removed and they have the fight. I feel like this could have been the same set because that is also in a classroom. It's like a repurposed the lecture hall that they had in Hush.
Yeah.
Repurposed to be a like training, like hospital, like room or whatever. And this is the same kind of thing. But I like this fight. I like seeing all of them fight.
I don't like that slow motion when Wesley kills the vampire in midair. It's like this weird jerky slow motion where it looks like you're.
They love doing that on Angel, and I don't know
What
why.
what's it
The
called when
lower
you're
frame
editing?
rate,
Yeah, but
the drop frame.
It just
Yeah.
it looks so bad. It looks so bad.
It looks dated. That's I think that's a video effect from when we were doing tape to tape more often than digital. And there's a handful of tape to tape video effects that died out. So to see it in this context is really jarring. And yeah, we've seen it before. I think it was the Fredless. The vampire bugs are shot with not the vampire bugs. The big mantis bugs are shot with drop frame, like a lower frame rate, to kind of hide the puppetry of them. And it just looks like it's jarring because you see a shot of the group looking normal, and then you see a shot of the bugs in low frame rate, and there's no universe explanation for it. It just feels weird.
Yeah, no, and like. It just is so it feels like of that time.
Yeah.
I feel like in season 4 when they use it when they're fighting the beast, I like it because it like makes a little bit more sense. That's a more epic fight. But we don't need it for like a random
shot.
shot.
No. And then we get one of those beautiful, I'm being sarcastic, transition shots where it's like boom, 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 where it's like quick strobes of previous scenes.
I really hate those. I really hate those.
Hate them.
No, I always forget about them. Somehow between watching episodes, I forget about them. And then they happen. I'm like, God damn it.
Always jarring. Like,
yeah.
Well, the first, they're a little less. The first season felt like you were being visually assaulted.
Yeah.
Yes. The first season was like, hey, are you epileptic? Don't watch this show.
And some of them go on for like 4 or 5 seconds. And you see like a clapperboard, and they actually have behind the scenes shots in them. They're very, it's a weird stylistic choice.
You know what it reminds me of? This is going to be a very silly reference. But when I'm doing my like silly little photos for this podcast, sometimes I will use the dumbest thing. Like, I think I used a sock as a tablecloth recently on like a table, and I was like, that works. And like, it does work in like, but if you zoom in too much and like, I don't use Photoshop to blur it, it's like, is that a fucking sock, Ian? But like, I feel like that's what's going on here. They're like, what do we have? Nothing? Yeah, use behind the scenes footage, just throw it in there. It doesn't matter. And blur it and up the contrast. It'll be fine. No one will look.
Oh, we forgot to shoot an establishing shot of the next scene. All right.
Yeah, do that
and then
thing.
We're there.
I do like that Fred tries to help. I do like seeing her try. Like, she gets the knife.
She doesn't know about the hearing thing. That was.
She's like, oh no, the knife can hurt you. And Darla's like, they can hear you. Like, I just love how much Darla can't stand any of them.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, idiots.
It's kind of like how
surrounded.
Cordelia was with the rest of the Scoobies in season 2.
Yeah.
So we know Wolfram and Hart has got the Hyperion bugs, so they're sending in this military, paramilitary
Army,
team, right?
Yeah.
And also the Obsta chicken to go there.
Also,
we're gonna be here when they come back.
And then a pirate with a sword shows up.
Yeah, pirate. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is Schults just that good, or does he have some sort of special power?
I couldn't remember that either. I also have that question.
Completely unexplained, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think he's just a really well-trained, he's a very intuitive fighter. So he's got like a spidey sense, kind of, it seems like, except for protecting his family. Burn.
We all have our
Dunks on him.
The reason I say this, listeners, is because Wolfram and Hart is watching from afar as this paramilitary team goes in there, and suddenly they hear all these like grunts, and they can't get the video working and everything, and then when they do, it's the entire team and the ostrich chicken has been taken out by Schults.
I also was like, wait, does he have superpowers? I can't fucking remember. So yeah, I guess no, it's just he's really good. Sure, fine. Because it leads to a cool visual of We go back to the gang. They defeat this vampire cult. I can't even remember if we circle back to this vampire cult. That's how bad my memory is with this season.
We do not.
Okay, great.
I mean, in fairness, I'm coming off as more like Buffy's got the Knights of Byzantium, and the least you can say is whatever you think of the vampire cults, it's one scene as opposed to the Ren Fair nights from Buffy season 5 going on for the whole season. And really kind of leading no place.
Nowhere,
This is here for a bit. It's here for a joke. And then they're done with it. And I suppose I appreciate the brevity of that as opposed to just going on too long.
Yeah. Because that could have been a cool B plot for the season. We have Schults.
Yeah.
But maybe they all just got killed. Maybe that was the entire vampire cult.
Yeah. That was my assumption.
Yeah. That's fair.
But speaking of cults, there are all 6 of them in the convertible.
Angel walks into the hotel. He sees the chicken feet, so he knows something's wrong. There's a bunch of dead bodies, and he turns.
There's cages.
Wait, we jumped ahead, Ian. So they're driving across town. Darla's like, "Oh, I wish I could kill and eat you all," but and they get to they're like, we should go somewhere. We got to get out of here. We can't go to Vegas, too high profile. Where are we going to go? And basically they're like, we need the scrolls, if anything, to protect this kid. So that's how they decide to go back to the Hyperion. And they park in the alley. And this is important. They park in the alley and Angel does his angel thing. And he's like, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, get the hell out of here. And that's when he walks in and the ostrich Christian chicken is dead and everybody, and Schults is like, I'm jealous. And he's like, oh shit.
And then Darla's water breaks.
And Darla's water breaks in the dirty alley.
I do love when Cordelia jumps into the driver's seat and Gunn goes, who says you get to be wheelman? And she goes, who says it has to be a man? I'm just like, this is why I love Cordelia.
Yes. And so we're kind of heading into the conclusion of this story, and we're like, it's weird because I know her water breaks, but they definitely say this on purpose earlier. Duh, of course childbirth can last a long time, but Wesley specifies it can last up to 18 hours. And I was like, we say that on purpose, so that way it can be a whole episode of her in labor rather than... Yeah, now that we're at the end, favorite scene? Dana?
I'm going to say the Wolfram and Hart psychic room, just because there's so much fun stuff going on in the background and everything to look at.
Right. May?
Hospital battle. It just, that whole set piece, there's so much good humor in it. Even though there's some bad drop frame slow motion, it's still a cool battle. And I love seeing Darla just deck a vampire with her fist while she's that pregnant. It's so fucking funny. And it's just fun. It's a fun set piece.
Ian?
I think the psychic bit is the most fun. And I think the turn of, no, you're going to have me killed is clever.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite scene is also the fight in the hospital, but specifically Darla saying she's going to be Switzerland, them saying they're going to eat her, and her being like, all right, I'm up, I'm going to help, because I just love a begrudging ally. Favorite outfit, May?
Hot goth psychic lady with the red hair, because that's what I would be wearing in there. And I need to re-bleach my hair so I can dye it all pink again, and it's driving me crazy because I don't have enough money to do it right now. But yeah, I want to be her. I want to make out with her, everything. She's the best. I wish we actually got to sit with her and talk with her.
Dana?
And Gavin always looks good.
I mean, he's extremely handsome. I'm going to say the Obsta Chicken's black, long leather 80s turtleneck wrap coat. It's so high fashion 80s. I love it.
See, I was thinking it was like priest, like it was supposed to look like old-timey priest.
I was getting Nazi Dr. Frankenchicken.
I like that we're all... You know what, Ian? I think I'm going to go with you.
I think I've seen that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, May, that's like a B-80s horror movie, right?
Oh, yeah, that definitely sounds like something Roger Corman would produce.
It's very Baba Yaga.
Yeah. Roger Corman, or actually more likely Charles Band.
I don't know.
Full Moon Pictures. They produced all the Puppet Master movies
Okay.
and that kind of stuff.
Ian.
I love the way they keep calling back the red with Julie. In the red pregnancy shirt, but just the use of red throughout ever since Angel's Dream, I think is neat. I like that consistency.
Yeah, I do too. I forget it's not the same outfit because it feels, but like
exactly.
Yeah, I like that too. I think I'm gonna go with the psychic scene, but everyone. I love the way they're all all the psychics are very, like May mentioned, the tropiness of how they're all styled, and it's just done really well. So yeah, that's gonna be mine, which is a little bit cheating, but I'm allowed to. What grade do we give this episode, Ian? I'm sorry to start with you.
First of all, I don't think I've equipped myself particularly well here. The complaining that it's.
Are you gonna say A+ and throw us all off?
No, complaining that it has prioritized entertaining over anything else is a critique that makes no sense.
I know what you mean. No,
yeah, I think what it is sort of like sacrificing tone or consistency simply for gags and camp, all of which can be fun, but it's really hard to hit a consistent tone in an episode, and this is such a dark arc, and the opening is so dark, and the next episode is so dark that this episode reminds me a little bit of The Trial, which was written by Tim Minear and David Greenwalt, and it's peppered by amazing, dark, dramatic moments. The scene on the end, on the bed at the end of the episode where Darla has accepted her fate and that she's going to die, is one of the most beautiful scenes between those two characters. And then there's a Indiana Jones derivative, weird sequence in the middle of it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you didn't like Drusilla's entrance.
No. I'm talking about the actual trial itself is literally just lifted from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It's so there's that's what I'm trying to get at, the dissonant tone. This feels like that over 3 episodes, and where I think the whole arc itself is like a B+ or an A-. This episode for me is like a C-.
That's fine. No, yeah, that makes sense. That's a grade I gave every season 1 episode, so that's fine. Dana, what grade do you give this episode?
I'll give this one a B. I enjoyed it. I am not as smart as Ian, so I enjoy just being entertained sometimes.
Yeah.
I like it too. I feel terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, you're allowed to not like it. May, what grade do you give it?
I'm gonna give it a B-. It's entertaining. It's got some really good bits of humor. It's not a slog to get through, but because it is surrounded by 2 much stronger episodes, it's just kind of it's okay.
That's fair. I think I give it a B, but I think the arc as a whole, I would probably give an A, this 3 episode arc, but this I give a B because I still am entertained. I mean, retroactively, I'm like, that's so annoying that we don't go back to that vampire call. And there are a little bit too many things in this episode, but I still enjoyed it. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch our videos because all of these recordings are now video recordings as well on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us and please give us a good rating. It's very helpful for getting the podcast out there. You can support us on Patreon, where we're going through X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, and finished Buffy Season 3 for its 25th anniversary, and we'll be going through Season 4, along with a bunch of other bonus content. I do a sex talk show with Zachary Patton Garcia called My Nudie Judy on there. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I am at ENX Carlos across all platforms. Dana, where can everyone find you and your writing?
I am on Dana at Dana Piccoli pretty much everywhere. I just have been working on a new newsletter of queer pop culture things called Queerly Cultured. So if you want to get bits and bobs of queer culture in your inbox, you can sign up for that and check out more of my writing at News Is Out.
And Ian, where can everyone find you?
YouTube.com/Passion of the Nerd.
And May, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at EversonPoe. That's EversonPoe. You can find my music by searching for Everson Poe, 2 separate words, on Bandcamp and streaming services. You can find me weekly on the Lady Killers, a Feminine Rage podcast. You can find me... I'm one of the rotating co-hosts of Tender Subject, a podcast on cannibalism and body horror. And... here. You can find me here.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.